Welcome to a Sunny Side Up Life podcast, a show for the woman who is ready to live an abundant life full of freedom and positivity. I'm your host, Sami Womack, a nationally recognized money expert, budgeting coach, and your very own hype squad. I'm on a mission to help you break free from survival mode, gain financial freedom, stay motivated, and focus on what matters most. Join the movement and let's start living on the brighter side of life together. Just a reminder that everything discussed in today's episode will be linked in the show notes. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at A Sunny Side Up Life. If you're ready to take control of your money and need guided instructions, check out my free budgeting challenge by going to asunnysideuplife.com. Now, let's get into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today we are going to be talking about doing a mid-year refresh for your budget and for your goals in general. So I have been doing one-on-one coaching for 4 years now, and I have been sharing financial advice online for 7 or 8 years now. And I have seen this pattern time and time again every single year around this time. So this isn't just a one-off experience. This is, human nature, maybe. This is just a pattern that we seem to follow. Every year around this time, I start to see clients maybe lose motivation, or they get really quiet about their goals, or my one-on-one clients start to avoid scheduling check-in calls, all these different things for a couple of different reasons. And those reasons are what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to share with you some ways to kind of pull yourself out of this rut if you have lost motivation, or how to stop procrastinating on checking in on your budget or your other goals and things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, like I said, you're not alone if this is happening to you. This time of year is super busy. We right around Mother's Day, I was seeing all these reels and memes about let's schedule Mother's Day, and literally the busiest month of the year. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And it's really true. So we have, graduations and all these events going on at school, and there's weddings and birthday parties, and there's so much going on over the summer, not to mention summer camps and vacations and getting all of that prepared and all the signups. And oh my gosh, you're not alone in the busyness of your calendar. So take your busy calendar into account, cut yourself a little bit of slack, and know that it's okay if you are feeling that way, that it's not all in your head, that you're not alone. We all are feeling it. And I think that it's one thing to take action on your goals in, say, January, February, right? When the weather is crappy, there's nothing else going on. There's no parties on the weekends. The weather isn't that great. So you don't really care if you're just inside working away on your computer or, whatever it is. You don't really care because there's not a lot going on anyway. But May through August, that's a whole different ballgame. That is a whole different conversation. There's a million things going on over the summer. So it's not all in your head, and that it's okay. And later in this episode, I'm going to share some quick tips that can help you just kind of refresh your budget. That'll take 15 to 30 minutes, because I know we're all busy. All right. So stay tuned for that. We'll get to that in just a little bit. The other thing is regardless of if you're busier than normal or not, a lot of us have gotten off track on our goals and or our budgets by this time in the year. Okay. We're roughly halfway through the year and we're burnt out. Not only are our schedules packed, which makes us not have as much self-care time, maybe not as much rest, when of course, we can't pour from an empty cup. So if we haven't had enough time to fill our cup, how are we supposed to take on extra goals? And maybe we're feeling burnout. I was talking to a client the other day, and we were kind of talking about her feeling burnout, and she was supposed to have started a second job. And in between our calls, and we get on our next call, and I had expected her to have started her second job. And I was like, how's the second job going? And she's like, well, it's like, why? What's up? And she's like, I haven't really started it yet. And I was like, oh no, what happened? And she was like, honestly, I'm exhausted. Like doing just her regular job, taking care of all her household duties, you know, friends, hobbies, all the things. I'm sure she enjoys sleeping. She's like, I am exhausted. I don't have the motivation. I don't have the energy. I don't have the mental capacity to take on another thing. And she was like, I just feel so burnt out. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally normal, totally relatable. And if that's you, you're not alone in that either. Another thing is that the day to day of achieving your goals is honestly pretty boring. I if you kind of followed the financial advice people and on Instagram, you might see people referring to being like a boring investor. This is a phrase that I see floating around Instagram quite a bit, but of course, this is who I follow. So I've heard it a lot. But being a boring investor is kind of what I consider myself. I'm going to become a millionaire in a very boring way, just investing money every single month, every single 2 weeks when it's payday. It's automated. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. It's not, winning the lottery or having a get rich quick scheme or, having my invention picked on Shark Tank or, going viral. It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be really boring. It is living slightly below my means. It's living in, a little bit of an older house that was under our max that we got approved for from the bank. It's going on somewhat frugal vacations. It's driving older vehicles. It's eating frozen pizza at home every once in a while. It's like eating popcorn chicken and like tacos and spaghetti and like cheap dinners, right? Every once in a while going out to eat, every once in a while splurging. It's wearing mostly thrifted clothes. This is the day to day. And it's kind of boring sometimes, it's not always Instagram worthy. It's, eating leftovers for lunch. It's not aesthetic. It's not like, I don't want to take a picture of every single meal I eat or every single outfit that I wear or every single activity that I do every day because it's not flashy. It's not influencer worthy. It's not aesthetic. It is boring and kind of plain. But that long term is how you get to the end result. 99% of the time. There are those, 1% of the time where the person does like win the lottery or inherit money or, go viral or makes it big, gets a big break somehow. Those stories are the rarities. That's not the norm. The norm is becoming a millionaire by having a normal job and living slightly below your means so you can afford to invest the difference. And slowly but surely over the course of, 30 years, your investments grow and you become a millionaire. Having paid off vehicles and, not having like designer shoes and handbags and all that stuff, that's normal. My sister is a CPA. And she is the in-house CPA accountant for an investment company. They help people like do retirement planning and help people do like their day-to-day investments and stuff like that. And we talk about this a lot. We didn't really plan to go into kind of overlapping career fields. This is just kind of how it happened. But we talk about this a lot. And she talks about her clients as well as, they're reaching retirement age, people who are coming in planning their retirement, doing their estate planning, things like that. And she's like, yeah, like he was a cattle farmer. She was a teacher. Or, yeah, they had that construction business. It's most of the time very boring, very average, very ordinary. So all of this to say is that is normal and that is the reality. So what do we do to kind of, well, how do we not get super bored from this? And if you are like a more of a spender by nature, most of the time what it is you get bored and then you want to just go on a shopping spree or a fancy vacation, or like my husband, and just, constantly be shopping on Facebook Marketplace for the new the new thing, whatever he has his heart set on is, replacing his truck for a Jeep, or, upgrading our boat, or whatever. I feel like he's always shopping for something because he's more of the spender by nature. So he needs like something to look forward to, like the next goal, to know what he's saving money for. Another thing is like needing something on the calendar, which we'll talk about this in just a second, but just having things to look forward to, I think really, really helps. And also making sure that you're not saying no to fun and to treats too often. And there is a balance, and it's impossible, in fact, to give a blanket statement on what is too many treats, what is too much fun, because everybody's goals are different. Everybody wants to move at their own speed to achieve their goals. Everybody's money looks different. Where one person might have $100 of wiggle room for the month, this other person over here might have 5,000 extra wiggle room for the month, and everything in between. I've literally seen both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. So it's hard to give a blanket statement of, spend X number of dollars a week on yourself. Like that's not reasonable. But I do want to make sure that you are budgeting in something fun, something little kind of treats along the way. They can be free. They can be cheap. It can be, a latte that you look forward to, or a date night every Friday, or, lunch out. You meet up with your friends, lunch out once a week or something like that. For me, some of my treats that I have throughout the week is we'll usually pick up food or DoorDash or go out to eat once or twice a week. We do date nights every Friday on the weeks that my husband's home. So usually he's home for 3 weeks and gone for 3 weeks. So out of those 3 that he's home, usually, because we're parents and we have other responsibilities, usually we'll end up having a nice date night 1 or 2 times out of 6. Sometimes it is just like last Friday, it really was just kind of running some errands and grabbing a burger and fries. Like it wasn't real fancy. Where the week before that, we had a really nice dinner. We spent over $100 on dinner and drinks and appetizers. And then we went and had a couple drinks after, and it was a pretty expensive, maybe $150 date night. But that $150 date night probably happens once every 6 weeks. But it gives us things to look forward to. It helps us reconnect. It helps us kind of refresh and not feel so burnout in the day-to-day. And it is something that helps us actually achieve our long-term goals within reason, right? So make sure that you are budgeting in, whether it is a date night once or twice a month, once every 2 months, something like that. Also finding free things to do. Our library and our city host tons of free events. There's always some kind of weekend festival, or there's things hosted at the library, like art classes and things that are free. There's nature, going on walks, going to the lake, going to the river, like whatever, you can do within driving distance. Or maybe it is little cheap treats. One of my favorite things when we were very first paying off our debt and our grocery budget was so, so tight. I was literally clipping coupons, not wasting hardly any food. Like I was hardly throwing anything away at the end of the week. Like I was really, really tight with the groceries and the grocery budget and meal planning and all the things because I really had to pinch every penny to make progress on our debt. But one thing I did allow myself was every week when I got my groceries, I would allow myself like a roughly $5 treat. So I would get like some fresh flowers from the grocery store. Usually you can get like daisies or, something for like $5 or flowers that are kind of on the clearance that are about to go bad, or I would get like a new magazine or a new color of nail polish, something like that for roughly $5 a week. And that was my treat for the week. And I did that for probably a year or two, which wasn't forever, but it was something that helped. It really, really helped. A lot of people will do like spending freezes or not getting any new clothes for a certain amount of time or something like that. For me right now, I'm super into thrifting. And for me, I would much rather get thrifted clothes because I know I can get, 5 or 10 items for the price of one new item at Target. And that is much more frugal to me. And it gives me something, to be excited about in the day to day. So just make sure that you're planning in some things like that. Hopefully that kind of gave you some ideas. So getting something on the calendar is also super important. Again, this can be budget friendly. This can be free. This can be cheap. This can be something that you do have to save for and plan for, whatever the spectrum is, whatever fits within your goals, but getting something on the calendar to have something to look forward to. And this could be like, I'm just thinking if it's summertime, this could be a park day with the kids. This could be, now it's going to stay daylight longer. Maybe you get off work 5 o'clock, you're home by 5:30, 6 o'clock. Maybe it is taking a picnic dinner to the park. It could be something homemade. It could be let's pick up something and take it. It could be going for a walk. Having a full on park day. It could be going on like a day trip somewhere within driving distance that you can drive there, drive back. You don't have to pay for a hotel. Maybe there's like a nature area, somewhere that you haven't really checked out, but is within driving distance. And you put in your budget a little extra gas money. Maybe you like one of the things we like to do when we go to the lake is we always will stop. There's a dollar store on the way. So we'll stop and we'll let the kids like pick out their own snacks. And like everybody will get their own bag of chips and whatever drink they want, and we'll get like some lunch meat and a loaf of bread. And the kids love it because they think that they're like splurging when really they're picking out like a Gatorade and a bag of Cheetos. But to them, it's really exciting and it's really fun. So maybe it could be something like that. And we're on the way to like a swimming area at the lake that is free admission or, $5 admission or something really cheap like that. But put it on the calendar, block off time, give everybody a chance to have something to be excited about, to look forward to, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to go to have a lake day and, maybe invite their cousins or their friends or grandma or somebody that they can like be excited about. Or maybe it's just the day for just the nuclear family. We have those days where it's like the 5 of us plus our dog. So the 6 of us will go out on the lake, and it is some of the best reconnecting, refreshing time. Like it feels like nature church, you just come home tired and full of junk food and reconnected because you spent the day together in nature, listening to music, eating junk food, and just not having any cares in the world. And that is the stuff I think that refreshes your soul and makes you just be like, this is why we're doing it. This is why we're doing everything that we're doing. So it is things like that. And they don't have to break the bank, and if you do have a little more wiggle room in your budget, where you can go on a trip for a couple of nights, or you can afford to do a full on, plane tickets, whatever kind of vacation. Great, amazing. Like, I think that it's so good for the heart and the soul and just for your mental health, everything, to like refresh, get a break from the boring normalness of your life sometimes and mix it up. Because I really think it helps like put things in perspective and kind of refresh. And then you can come home and get back to hustling, get back to your goals, get back to your budget, and all the things. And we don't want you to burn out and quit, right? We don't want you to quit. So if you do have to take $1,000 weekend trip, like nothing too crazy exaggerant, but you set aside $1,000, you go on this really nice 2-night trip within driving distance. So you set your goals back $1,000. Maybe that's a month or two for you. Maybe that's more. I don't know. Everybody's timeline is different, of course. But if it sets your goals, say it sets your goals back 2 months, isn't it better for your goals to take 14 months instead of 12, but for you to actually achieve them rather than get to month 9 and just quit, right? I would rather add a couple months and not be super burnout, not hating my life, hating my family, hating everything, wanting to just scream at everybody. I'd rather it slow down a little bit so we could afford, within reason, treats and trips and activities and things on the calendar and things to look forward to. So pick a date, figure out what's in reason, which we'll talk about in a minute, for you how to kind of refresh your budget and figure out, I don't know, what can I afford to do? Put it on the calendar, tell the kids, be excited about it, put a countdown on your phone, have something to look forward to. Okay. And then cash flow it. We'll plug it into the budget, all of that. There is nothing like a cash flowed, guilt-free, fun activity. Whether that is just the afternoon or it is a whole week vacation, doesn't matter. And I will tell you firsthand, and I repeat this to all of my clients, that I remember vacations, one vacation in particular, where we went to the beach, which for us, the beach is about a roughly 4-hour drive. Sometimes we will go and just go there, spend the day and come back, like not spend the night, nothing, if we're really having a tight budget. Sometimes we'll go and just spend one night or something like that. So it's not too bad of a trip. There was one time that we went and we were going to stay the night. We were just going to do one night. And I knew good and well that we could not afford it. I mean, it was really close to our like rock bottom time. On the way to the beach, somewhere within the 4-hour drive, I was trying to book a hotel. Obviously, super last minute. I don't know what I was thinking. I had no forethought at all at this point in my life. So on the drive, I'm trying to book a hotel. And on the drive, I realized we couldn't really afford a hotel. We didn't have the money. And I decided to figure that out on the drive. So we stopped at McDonald's because we're going to be super frugal on this trip, when we in reality probably should have packed sandwiches and probably should have stayed much closer to home, but whatever. So we stopped at McDonald's and I let my husband and my daughter go in. And at that point, we only had our oldest. That's how long ago this story was. And I'm sitting in the truck and I'm on the phone with Discover, begging them to up our limit because our credit card was maxed out. And our other ones were maxed out as well. But Discover had in the past raised our limit. And I was like, maybe they're our best bet, so I called. And I think they did. I can't even remember 100%, but I just remember begging them to up the limit. And I guess they did a little, and we were able to stay in a hotel, but it was a really crappy hotel. Like, It was close to the beach and they were renting it out and it had hurricane damage and probably mold. I don't even know. It was a really cheap hotel. And every time, but of course, we took these photos like we were this beautiful little family at the beach and big smiles and, post on social media and great family trip to the beach. And every time I look back at those photos, I am overwhelmed, overcome with the memory of having to beg the credit card to raise our limit, knowing good and well in my gut that I couldn't afford it, feeling sick to my stomach the entire time we were at the beach because I knew we couldn't afford it. It was nothing but guilt. And I look back 10, 12, however many years ago it was, and I can still feel that pit of my stomach feeling every time I look at those pictures. I can never replace those memories. However, on the flip side of this, I can look back at pictures, even if it was a really cheap trip, even if it was just a day activity, and know good and well that we could honestly afford to be doing it, that we cash flowed it, that we plugged it in the budget, that we didn't hurt ourselves, that we were still able to pay our bills, even though we were doing the thing. And the difference between those memories are night and day. And there is nothing like doing activities, going on trips, buying things that you can cash flow, that you can 100% legitimately afford. There's nothing like it. And once you do it a couple of times, you'll be hooked on that high. You'll be hooked on that feeling. And that feeling makes it all worthwhile. Guaranteed. And I repeat this over and over again to my clients because that feeling of, yes, we could afford to do this. Yes, it was fun. There was no guilt. It was so great. Like we could say yes to things. It was amazing. That feeling is what makes me want to shout from the rooftops, hey, you guys, everyone should do a budget. This is pretty great. And it's kind of an addictive feeling, to be honest. For the past 4 years, I've worked with over 100 clients one-on-one, real women who took action on making big changes to their finances. My coaching sessions are designed to give you completely personalized budgeting support. Together, we'll organize your bills, build better spending habits, pay down your debt, build your savings, and invest for the future. I'll help you get a system in place that will set you up for success for years to come. I'll answer all of your questions along the way, talk you through all of your mindset blocks, and most of all, I'll be there to hold you accountable. So this time will be the time that you'll finally stick to your budget and make those dreams a reality. Visit sunnysideuplife.com/coaching to apply today to see if one-on-one budget coaching is right for you. Another thing I hear a lot this time of year is we've made it far enough into the year that we have probably failed, quote unquote, failed at our goals. We've fallen off the wagon. We've lost motivation. And we're kind of like, well, I didn't follow through. I was going to walk 10,000 steps every day, or, I was going to cut out caffeine, or I was going to save $100 every paycheck. And I didn't do it like I was supposed to. So, I failed. Why even keep trying? And, I totally get it. Obviously, don't get me wrong. Totally been there. But this is your kick in the pants call to action that you don't have to wait until January. You don't have to wait until the new school year. You don't have to wait until Monday. Your next choice, your next opportunity to make a choice is when you can start. You can always start over whenever you want. There are no rules. There is no budget police that's going to come in and be like, excuse me, you're going to start saving money in May. That's a January thing. That's ridiculous. Sounds really ridiculous. But that's the kind of stuff that somewhere in our head we think is true. Like, you're going to save money. How many times have you said you're going to save money? And you always fail. You're always going to screw up. Like, we just have those voices in our head. And I know because I have one. But one of the things that my good friend Chloe from Chloe Puff Training, she was on an episode recently, and I'm working with her as my personal trainer. One thing that she says all the time is she teaches tools, not rules, which means that she teaches her clients how to fail, which is exactly what I needed to hear when it came to fitness and my food. I needed to know how to fail because to me, the food and fitness stuff, that's my Achilles heel. I'm great at money. I can do budgeting all day long. I'm pretty decent at the minimalism thing, all that kind of stuff. Food, fitness, body positivity, that's my Achilles heel. So what I really needed to hear from her and to be successful with my goals and what I needed in a coach, what I needed in an internal voice was, I'm going to teach you how to fail. I'm going to give you tools, not rules, which means that you don't have to do it perfectly to be successful. All you need to know is that you can always start over. And it's not even start over. You can always just do it tomorrow. You can always just do it 5 minutes from now. It's not always like this has to be this whole big to do of, let me just start over. You're not starting over. You're picking up where you left off, right? It is different. And also kind of giving yourself that permission of like, you are going to fall down. You got to figure out how to pick yourself back up every time, and that metaphor of like, what if when we were toddlers and we were learning how to walk, we fell down once and we were like, you know what? Walking's not for me. I'm just going to quit now. I fell down that one time. Like, that's ridiculous. But that's how we sound when we give up on our money goals and our other goals. And I think about like gymnasts, right? When they're doing like all their flips and their balance beam stuff and all the crazy things that they do, they learn how to fall safely. And I'm pretty sure that Simone Biles has fell thousands of times, right? She's the most decorated gymnast in the world. She's probably fell thousands and thousands of times because you fall down when you're on your way to achieving great things, when you're on your way to achieving your goals. But what gymnasts learn is how to fall safely, how to fall and not break their arm every single time they fall. Do they occasionally probably break bones? Sure they do. Right? Sometimes we screw up, we make mistakes that are pretty bad, We've, gotten ourselves in debt. Maybe we've had things repossessed. Maybe we filed bankruptcy. Maybe we've, made bad purchases and really got ourselves into holes. We've had vehicles and been $20,000 upside down on vehicles because it was a bad purchase. That's like breaking your arm. Like, but your life isn't over. You heal. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to heal from a broken arm versus a sprained ankle or something. But what gymnasts learn to do is they learn to fall safely. So we have to take that and apply it to our, boring, like, oh, I got to stick to my grocery budget. Like, it's not as exciting as Simone Biles winning gold medals, but we can take the metaphor and we can run with it, right? So we don't have to wait until Monday. We don't have to wait for January or a new school year. We can do it now. And I don't want us to waste the next 6 months waiting for January, because what's going to happen is that it's going to be January one way or the other. It's going to be January and it's going to be 2025. And we're going to look at the calendar and go, oh my God, I cannot believe it's 2025. Because what happens? Time will pass one way or the other. So we might as well do something productive with the time that we have. Right? we might as well do something productive with the months that we have left of this year, because this year's going to be over regardless. So what do we do? Okay, let's talk about a couple action steps. So stick with me through these. First of all, I'm a big advocate of put something on the calendar. I just said that about planning a weekend trip or vacation or a day out or whatever it is. Put it on the calendar, commit to it. Same thing with checking on your budget. Put it on the calendar. Set it up like it's a meeting. If you had a doctor's appointment, would you blow it off? No. If it's on your calendar, you'd be like, oh, got to be at the doctor, 3:00 on Thursday. Put it on your calendar like it's a meeting. If this is hard for you to do, have an accountability buddy. Have a friend, your partner, whoever it is, and, tell them, like, I'm going to do this. If you need an accountability buddy, that is exactly what I do in my one-on-one coaching services. So check out the show notes if you want to hear more about that. But we can literally put a meeting on the calendar and do this via Zoom. All the time, I'll have my clients, we'll get on calls. They'll be like, I have not done anything since we talked 2 weeks ago. I'm like, that's okay. This is your time to do it. So let's open up the bank account. Let's check on the balances on the credit cards. Let's see how the 401k account is doing. Like, let's pay some bills. Let's log in. Let's see how much the electric bill is this month. Like, this is your time to do it. So either set that time for yourself, set a meeting, pick a time. Sign up to work with someone like me or get an accountability buddy. Do if you have a long distance best friend, like set up a time with them and get on a Zoom call together and be like, hey, during this time, we're both going to work on our budgets together. And, you can make a whole coffee date out of it or something, right? You can make it fun. It doesn't have to be like the worst. Put a show on in the background, put some music on, make it fun. Another thing is setting a timer. This does not have to take an entire afternoon, because if we do, it's going to feel like a huge mountain to climb. It's going to feel like too much, and we're going to procrastinate on it. Trust me, I'm the queen of procrastinating. I love to do things in the last minute. It's how I function best. So set a timer. Once you have, you have it on your calendar and you're like, yep, I'm setting this time aside. It's a 30-minute meeting with yourself. It's a 15-minute meeting. Like, it does not have to be very long. I think 15 to 30 minutes is a great amount of time. I can update my budget in 15 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to walk you through a checklist that I have. Let me bring it up. All right. This is a checklist. This is actually one of the 6 tabs that I have in my digital budgeting system. So if you've ever been curious about my budgeting worksheets, this tab is one of the tabs in there. And I'm basically just going to read this out to you. So if you're driving or busy right now, this might be something that you want to come back to and take notes. Or if you do have a chance, you might want to go ahead and grab a notebook. Or if you want to purchase my worksheets, then you can see all of this written out for you. But one of the things on the checklist is I have a budget update checklist where you literally can go down, check as you go through the steps. And with my coaching clients, usually around call 2 or 3, because the first 1 or 2 calls, we're kind of just getting our numbers in one place and kind of getting organized and set up. But after we have the basics of our budget set up, this is basically where we start our calls. We start with this checklist. And this is the best place to start. This is exactly what I do. When you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you feel like, gosh, I haven't paid attention to my budget in weeks, that I don't know. Everything feels so messy. I'm not really sure where the money is. I don't know. You just kind of feel overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know where to start. This is where you start. Okay. Very first on the list is just open up your bank app, log in, and simply write down all of the current balances and all of your different accounts. If you have multiple banks, open multiple tabs, log in, check them all. If you have my worksheets, there's a spot in the worksheets for you to just type this out digitally, but you can totally do this on just a notebook. Okay, so write out, if you have a bills account, what currently is in your bills account right now at this moment. Spending accounts, savings accounts, whatever you have, how much you currently have in each account. Next on the list is to check off bills that are paid and or cleared, because paid and cleared are two different things. Remember that. And this is something, if you have my worksheet, you would go back to the budget worksheet, which is the main part of the budget, and where you would look at your bills chart and you would see the bills that are due during the current budget period, which means the most recent payday up until the day before the next payday. That's your current budget period, right? So say you get paid every Friday, your budget would go from Friday to Thursday, and just what is due during those days. Don't worry about anything else, just what is due during those days. Okay, so you want to check off what has cleared that was due during this budget period and what hasn't. And you want to take note of what hasn't cleared, okay? And we'll need that number in just a minute. So just add that up of what hasn't been paid that still needs to be paid between now and the next payday. Another thing to do, third on the list, is update any changes to the bills charts. So sometimes some due dates will vary by a couple of days, depending, like some companies will do a 28-day billing cycle, some will do a 30-day billing cycle, and it'll make your due dates vary just slightly. So make sure that you're checking in. Also, some amounts will vary, like electric bills usually vary, water bills, things like that. Sometimes there'll have been changes that will have been made to your cell phone or your insurance, or maybe you've paid down your credit cards, and so your minimum payment is slightly lower, or maybe you've charged a little bit to your credit card, so your minimum payment is slightly higher. This is time to take note of any of those changes and just kind of make updates as you go, and just take it one bill at a time, just kind of walking through, okay, this is what is due between now and the next payday. Maybe go ahead and glance over at the next budget period. Hey, payday is coming up in a couple of days. And when that payday happens, like what's going to be due? Are there any changes I need to make over there? And just kind of worry about right now and the next budget period. You don't have to think 4 or 5 months from now. Okay. That this is not the time to do that. Just kind of worry about maybe the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks. That's plenty for right now. Okay. Remember, right now, we're just trying to kind of break the overwhelm and take some action. And you can always come back and worry about the future months at a different time, maybe when you're feeling a little bit more motivated and you're not so overwhelmed and you're not kind of behind, like you're not playing catch up. Okay. Next on the list is to use the reconciliation calculator, which if you have my worksheets, you'll have a little box that'll have formulas plugged into it to kind of help you do this. But again, you can totally do this on a blank notebook. Doesn't matter. And so what this reconciliation calculator looks like, I'm going to try to just read through this for you, is the first line is I always start with have versus need. And I repeat this to my clients because if you don't remember anything else, this is the thing that will help you reconcile your budget and take action right now. You can get your budget at least good enough updated in literally 15 minutes with just this trick. Is saying I currently have X dollars in my bills account, which means when you just went and logged into your bank account, how much money is in there right now, right this very moment. So I have X versus what I need. So this means I need to pay this much towards my bills right now with the money that is currently in that account. I'm not getting paid anything else yet. What needs to come out right this minute between now and my next payday? So I have this much and I need this much. Very simple. That's the most simple budgeting reconciliation that you can possibly do. Now, ideally, you would also set aside a little bit of a buffer in that checking account. It could be like $50, $100. It doesn't have to be a lot. $20 sometimes, $200 sometimes, somewhere in there, whatever feels good. just so your account doesn't go to zero once you've paid all your bills and you're waiting for your new payday to happen. So current amount minus what you need to pay your bills, minus a little bit for a buffer. Then next on your list is, do you have any pending income? Like sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 streams of income and you'll do the main part of your budget based on your highest income. Sometimes we'll have like 2 partners and one partner will have like a higher steady income and their paychecks are every 2 weeks. But then the other partner will have a paycheck that will come in partway through the budget period. Maybe it's not a lot, or maybe it's a side hustle or something like that. Or sometimes it'll be like a check from a family member. Like I've had some clients that will have like a relative that is living with them and paying rent. And so they'll give them like a check on the first, or their kid pays them back for their insurance or their cell phone or something like that. So they'll just have like a little random kind of income throughout. If that is the case, if you're like, yeah, my son's going to give me $50 next week for his phone bill, go ahead and put that in as like plus any pending income you have before the new budget period starts. Another thing is like maybe you like have money sitting in like PayPal or Venmo and you're like, yeah, I need to clear that out. That could count as like pending income as well. Sometimes that happens. Okay. And then do that math. Have minus need plus any pending income. Okay. What do you have left now? That's the very basic first few steps. Then you're like, okay, this is how much I have, the kind of extra just floating in this bills account. I always treat the bills account as like the home, like the hub of everything. And then from there, you can disperse money out. So you have a couple $100 left here. You're like, I don't know, this is just like $300 just kind of floating in this bills account. I don't know what to do. The next couple of steps is, do you need to transfer anything to your spending? How does your spending look between now and when you get paid again? Is it going to work? Do you have enough to stretch until you get paid again? Or could you use $100 or something just to kind of make ends meet until then? Like, yeah, I need to pick up a couple more things from the grocery store. I'm almost out of gas, whatever. So if you need to transfer to spending, whatever you need to kind of get you through, because the first goal is to cash flow. Just pay for what your bills and not put like groceries and gas on a credit card. Cash flow, that's the first goal. Once your bills are paid, your spending is taken care of. Okay, now what extra? What else could I do? Is like growth type stuff, which is sinking funds, setting money aside for Christmas, vacations, things like that, kids' activities, whatever. Setting money aside in your emergency fund, or paying some extra to your debt, or doing all 3 or 1 or 2, right? So sinking, savings, debt, that's kind of the next tier. That's kind of like growth. So we take care of current with bills and spending, and then, all right, kind of future thinking, what else could we do with this money? And at that point, everything should be accounted for. So you've done, I currently have minus my bills, minus my buffer, plus any pending income, minus my spending. Then from there, what do I have left? What do I want to do with what's left? Do I want to do sinking, savings, extra to debt? From there, it should be zero. That's where we get the term zero-based budget. It should be zero. Every dollar should go somewhere. Even if it's like, hey, $5, send it to the emergency fund. I'm going to round up my credit card payment and pay an extra like $9.25 because I have a little bit extra. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, make sure every single dollar is accounted for. It's put somewhere. Okay. Then from there, you can kind of go, if you still have time on your timer, if you still have mental capacity, you can stop there. And that's plenty. And you could get that done easily in 15 to 30 minutes, especially if you set a timer, especially if you kind of block time out on your calendar where you're not like distracted. You put music on, put a show in the background, whatever, you need to do. to help yourself focus, set that timer. You're trying to beat the clock. You're trying to get it done. You could get all that done for sure. If you still have some time left, you still have some energy left, kind of bonus steps, optional steps, is you can update your goals chart. You can kind of check in with where your current balances are on your debt. Where is all your savings? What was your goal for your savings? How close are you to your savings goals? What percentage are you to your goals? If you have my worksheets, there's a whole tab called goals where you can go and do this. You can update your spending balances. Your savings balances. You can update the current balances owed to your debt. And there's a little progress bar that'll start to fill up to show you how much progress you've made. You can make a plan for your extra money. Like there's all of these prompts on the goals tab. So that's another step that you could take. Another thing you could do if you still have motivation is you can go and update your net worth tab on my worksheets. And this is your net worth is basically all of your assets minus all of your liabilities, which means how much money you have in savings, how much you have in cash, how much you have in your investments, minus what all debt you owe. So the goals tab and the net worth tab kind of go hand in hand because you're updating your debt balances on both actually and updating your savings balances on both. The only difference with your net worth is you are going in and looking at your investments and maybe making any changes to the value of your home or the value of your vehicles or things like that. Like I'm constantly updating the value of my house as not constantly, but every few months or so as the market is getting more and more expensive, as houses in my neighborhood sell where I'm like, yeah, that probably, they sold that house at that price. My house is probably worth, 10,000 more than I had it listed in my net worth chart as before. That's another thing you could do. Another thing you could do. Now, this is if you're just really, really feeling motivated. You don't have to do this at all. But you can go back through your previous months of transactions and kind of retroactively do your budget. You can go back through and log like, hey, my electric bill was this much, or I spent this much on groceries, this much on restaurants. And you can kind of go and backtrack to kind of see where your money has been going. You don't have to do this at all. It is kind of helpful just for collecting the data, basically. But this is where people feel like they have to do this and they feel really overwhelmed because they've gotten, 3 to 6 months worth of behind on tracking their budget. And like, well, I got to go way back to March because I haven't updated the budget since March. You don't have to. You can totally just let March, April, and May be a area that didn't get tracked. It's not, like I said, there's no budget police. Nobody's going to come and be like, excuse me, you didn't do the accounting. Like it's your personal budget. It really only matters for your records. So if you would like to have it for your records and you're feeling really motivated and you've just really gone down like a hyperfixation rabbit hole of working on your budget, you can go back and kind of track the past few months and kind of just see where your spending was going and see how everything went and just log it if you really want to. Again, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, completely disregard that and literally just start right where you are with the have minus need and figure out where you are from now until your next payday. And then, next week, 2 weeks, whenever it is, when you get paid again, you make another meeting with yourself on your calendar, set another timer, and simply go through, pay your bills, do your spending. If there is money left over, where does it go? Sinking, savings, debt. It's that simple, okay? We don't have to overcomplicate it. So that was a lot, you guys. That was a lot. I thought this was going to be a quick, fast, easy episode, but I hope that it was really helpful. I see this so often, and I just really would love to just sit down with each of you individually and, get on a Zoom call and sip some coffee and laugh our way through updating a crazy mess of a budget. But hopefully this can be a good alternative to that. And hopefully this is helpful to you. If you have any questions for me as you're kind of updating your budget, My inbox is always open. Send me an email, DM me on Instagram. I would love to help. If you do want to work with me one-on-one, go to my website, asunnysideuplife.com. You can learn more about working one-on-one with me with coaching or purchasing my worksheets and doing your budget on your own. So I hope that this was all helpful to you, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Thanks for hanging out for another episode of a Sunny Side Up Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a review. 5-star reviews are what help the podcast grow. Don't forget to check out the episode show notes for links to everything that we talked about in today's episode. And if you want to access all of my free resources or you want to learn how to work with me one-on-one, head over to asunnysideuplife.com to get started. And if you want to keep up with me in the day-to-day, don't forget to follow me on social media at A Sunny Side Up Life. Well, that's all for me this week. Bye, guys.